This aircraft took a direct hit that tore off half its wing, lost an engine, and had its hydraulics destroyed, yet somehow flew for another hour and landed safely. That's the legendary A-10 Warthog, America's flying tank that enemies fear and ground troops worship. What makes this 50-year-old aircraft so valuable that Congress repeatedly blocks its retirement, even against the Air Force's wishes? In this video, I'll reveal the 7 revolutionary design features that make the A-10 virtually unstoppable, and why modern replacements keep failing to measure up. From its tank-killing cannon to its incredible survivability, you're about to discover why this ugly duckling remains one of the most effective combat aircraft ever built, and why troops on the ground cheer when they hear its distinctive BRRRRT sound overhead. The story of the A-10 begins in the jungles of Vietnam, where America learned a brutal lesson about close air support. The aging A-1 Skyraider, a propeller-driven aircraft from World War II, was pressed into service to support ground troops. While effective when it could reach its targets, it had a fatal flaw. It was painfully vulnerable to enemy fire. The numbers tell the tragic story. 296 Skyraiders lost in Vietnam, mostly to small arms fire. Pilots were being shot down by farmers with rifles. The military needed something that could take a punch and keep fighting. The Air Force initially resisted building a dedicated ground attack aircraft, preferring multi-role jets like the F-4 Phantom, but reality forced their hand. When they tried upgrading existing aircraft like the A-7D Corsair for the role, costs doubled without solving the core problems. By 1966, Air Force Chief General McConnell demanded a new approach, a purpose-built aircraft specifically designed for close air support. The AX program was born, setting the stage for what would become the most durable combat aircraft in history. But what exactly was the threat so severe that it required completely rethinking aircraft design from the ground up? Imagine thousands of heavily armored Soviet tanks pouring across Europe, unstoppable by conventional weapons. This nightmare scenario would lead to one of the most unconventional aircraft designs in military history. To understand why the A-10 was built the way it was, you need to understand the nightmare scenario that kept NATO planners awake at night. 20,000 plus Soviet tanks pouring through the Fulda Gap in Germany. NATO forces would be outnumbered 3-1 in any conflict, facing waves of armored vehicles that could overwhelm defensive positions through sheer numbers. This wasn't just a theoretical concern. It was considered virtually inevitable. The United States needed an aircraft that could stop this armored tide, one that could hunt and kill tanks with devastating efficiency. The requirements were strict. It needed to be rugged, affordable at just $1.4 million per plane, about $11 million in today's money, and able to operate from rough forward airfields. Most importantly, it needed to carry a weapon capable of punching through Soviet tank armor, something no existing aircraft could reliably do. The specifications were finalized in 1970, and manufacturers were invited to compete. 6 companies submitted designs, but only Northrop's YA-9 and Fairchild's YA-10 were selected to build prototypes. On May 10, 1972, test pilot Sam Nelson took the first A-10 into the air, and military aviation would never be the same. But what exactly was this groundbreaking weapon that forced engineers to rethink aircraft design from scratch? It wasn't a missile or a bomb. It was something even more terrifying. A weapon so massive and powerful that the entire aircraft had to be designed around it, rather than the other way around. At the heart of the A-10 is the legendary U-8 Avenger, a 30mm rotary cannon so massive that the entire aircraft was designed around it. Picture this: a gun nearly 20 feet long that fires depleted uranium shells the size of milk bottles at 3,900 rounds per minute. When it fires, the recoil force is greater than one of the aircraft's engines at full thrust. This 7-barrel monster is accurate enough to place 80% of its rounds within a 40-foot circle from 4,000 feet away. Each depleted uranium shell travels at 3,500 feet per second, generating enough kinetic energy to slice through the top armor of any tank in existence. The gun is slightly offset from the aircraft's center line, but when fired, the barrel aligns perfectly with the plane's center axis. The ammunition drum is nearly 6 feet long and holds 1,174 rounds. To understand how devastating this weapon is, consider this. A typical 2-second burst fires about 140 rounds, weighing 86 pounds and delivering the explosive equivalent of a small car crash to its target. pause. Brat! That sound alone sends enemies running. But why? When A-10 pilots first tested the cannon, they reported that the entire aircraft would slow down from the recoil force. It was literally like hitting the brakes in mid-air. But having the most powerful aircraft cannon in history created an unexpected problem. Any aircraft carrying such a devastating weapon would become enemy priority target number 1. The A-10 would need to fly directly into the teeth of enemy defenses and survive concentrated anti-aircraft fire that would shred any conventional aircraft. This challenge led engineers to implement a protection system that sounds more like medieval armor than modern aviation. What makes the A-10 truly unique is its approach to pilot protection. At its core is a 1,200-pound bathtub of titanium armor surrounding the cockpit. This isn't thin plating. It's half-inch to 1.5-inch thick titanium, strategically placed to protect from the most likely angles of incoming fire. The armor alone makes up about 6% of the aircraft's empty weight. This titanium cocoon can absorb direct hits from 23mm cannon shells, the standard anti-aircraft weapon of Soviet forces, and even fragments from larger 57mm shells. The interior is lined with nylon spall shields to prevent ricochets inside the cockpit. Even the windscreen and canopy are bulletproof, capable of stopping small arms fire. In designing this protection, engineers studied World War II aircraft returning from combat to identify where hits were most common. They then placed armor only where it was absolutely needed, keeping weight manageable while maximizing protection. No other American aircraft before or since has been designed with this level of pilot protection. Modern stealth aircraft like the F-35 rely on not getting hit at all. The A-10 was built with the assumption it would take heavy fire and need to survive it. If you were in that titanium cockpit, facing concentrated enemy fire from all directions, how confident would you feel? Would you trust your life to this armor? Let me know in the comments below. But here's the shocking reality that military planners understood. Even the best armor can't protect everything. In the intense environment of close air support, getting hit isn't just possible, it's inevitable. So what happens when critical systems are destroyed and the aircraft is severely damaged? The answer would lead to one of the most remarkable engineering philosophies in aviation history. Beyond its armored cockpit, the entire A-10 is built around redundancy and battle damage tolerance. Every critical system has a backup, and those backups have backups. If the primary hydraulic system fails, a secondary system takes over. If that fails too, there's still a mechanical backup that allows the pilot to control the aircraft manually. The twin engines are mounted high on the fuselage and widely separated to reduce the chance of both being hit simultaneously. The fuel system is equally robust. 4 main tanks are protected in the aircraft's center, away from the skin, with self-sealing lines and isolation valves to contain damage. Most fuel components are housed inside the tanks to minimize vulnerable external plumbing. How effective is this design philosophy? The A-10 can fly with 1 engine, half a tail, 1 elevator, and part of a wing missing. During the 2003 Iraq invasion, Captain Kim Campbell's A-10 took a direct hit over Baghdad that knocked out 1 engine and all hydraulics. As smoke filled the cockpit and controls failed completely, Captain Campbell had just one thought. She wasn't going to abandon the troops fighting desperately below her. For nearly an hour, she wrestled with the crippled aircraft using just the manual backup controls, eventually landing safely. When ground crews examined her aircraft, they were stunned it could still fly. This wasn't luck. It was exactly what the A-10 was designed to do. But surviving enemy fire is only half the battle in modern conflicts. What truly separates effective combat aircraft from hangar queens is something far less glamorous than surviving missile hits. It's the ability to operate where other aircraft simply can't. A revolutionary approach to maintenance and battlefield operations that most engineers and Pentagon planners completely overlooked. Unlike sleek, sophisticated jets, the A-10 was built with battlefield reality in mind. Its straight, low-mounted wings are thick and wide, allowing it to turn tightly and fly slow, as low as 150 knots, while maintaining control. This makes it perfect for finding targets and supporting troops in close quarters where split-second decisions matter. Its rugged landing gear and special tires let it operate from rough, unprepared airstrips, even highways if necessary. The engine's high placement prevents dirt and debris from being sucked in during operations from forward bases. Ground crews can service the aircraft while engines are running, dramatically reducing turnaround time between missions. Perhaps most impressive is the aircraft's maintenance philosophy. Many parts are interchangeable left to right: engines, tail fins, landing gear, simplifying field repairs. The wings are designed so that even if the outer skin is damaged, the structure remains intact. Combat experience has shown that crews can patch damage with almost any available material and get the aircraft back in the fight quickly. In an era of aircraft that require 50+ maintenance hours per flight hour, the A-10's simplicity and ruggedness are revolutionary. Colonel James Burton, who helped develop the A-10, tells a story that perfectly illustrates this advantage. During exercises in Europe, he watched as F-16s sat grounded by mud and debris on runways, while A-10s continued operating from the same conditions. One pilot even landed his A-10 in a field next to stranded troops, picked up wounded, and took off again. Something unimaginable with any other aircraft, Burton recalls. This practical approach created unbreakable bonds with ground forces, but sparked a controversy in the Air Force that continues to this day and reveals a shocking. Despite its proven effectiveness, the A-10 has been fighting for survival against its own Air Force leadership for decades. Since the 1990s, the Air Force has repeatedly tried to retire the Warthog, claiming it's too slow, too vulnerable, and too specialized for modern warfare. The real issue? It doesn't fit the Air Force's preferred image of high-tech, multi-role stealth aircraft. The proposed replacement has usually been the F-35 Lightning II Sioux, an aircraft that costs over $80 million per unit, compared to the A-10's $11 million. Critics like defense analyst Winslow Wheeler have called this a major mistake, pointing out that the F-35 can't loiter over battlefields, lacks armor protection, and carries a much smaller gun with limited ammunition. What's most telling is the response from Congress and ground troops. Time and again, lawmakers have blocked retirement plans after hearing testimony from soldiers whose lives were saved by A-10 support. Army Sergeant First Class Michael Hall's testimony before Congress in 2018 left the room silent. "We were pinned down, outnumbered, with casualties mounting. The F-16s came first, but couldn't identify the enemy positions. When the A-10s arrived, everything changed. They stayed overhead for over an hour, making multiple gun runs within 50 meters of our position. There were 23 of us going home to our families because of those A-10 pilots." In 2023, the Air Force finally managed to get approval to begin retiring some A-10s, but only after proving suitable replacements exist, a bar many experts believe still hasn't been met. The controversy reveals a fundamental disagreement about warfare priorities, theoretical capabilities versus proven battlefield effectiveness. But there's one final measure that can settle this controversy beyond debate, a test that silences even the harshest critics: real combat. How does the A-10 perform when the bullets and missiles are flying for real? The answer reveals why so many troops consider this aircraft irreplaceable. The ultimate test of any weapon is combat performance, and here the A-10 has built an unmatched legacy. During the 1991 Gulf War, A-10s destroyed more than 900 tanks, 2,000 military vehicles, and more than 200 artillery pieces. A-10 pilots flew thousands of sorties with minimal losses, proving the aircraft's survivability against Soviet-designed air defenses. In Afghanistan and Iraq, the A-10 gained near-mythical status among ground troops. Soldiers reported that the mere sound of approaching Warthogs would cause enemy forces to break off attacks and retreat. Special operators would call them flying salvation and the infantryman's best friend. When troops were in danger of being overrun, A-10s could arrive on station and remain there, providing life-saving support when it mattered most. Marine Staff Sergeant James Miller's account from Fallujah is particularly striking. "We were surrounded, low on ammo, with wounded men who needed evacuation. The A-10 pilot radioed, 'I see them surrounding your position. I'm going to fly so low you can see my face.' He made pass after pass, sometimes just 100 feet off the ground. The insurgents were so terrified they broke contact and ran. I watched men who'd been fighting to the death minutes earlier literally throw down their weapons and flee when they heard that brr-RT sound. As threats evolved, so did the Warthog. Its original woodland camouflage gave way to the compass ghost gray scheme to reduce visibility from the ground. Electronic countermeasures were upgraded to defeat modern missiles. Despite being designed to counter Soviet tanks in Europe, the A-10 proved remarkably adaptable to counterinsurgency operations thousands of miles away in vastly different terrain. This adaptability, combined with its psychological impact on both friendly and enemy forces, demonstrates why the A-10 has become one of the most respected aircraft in military history. And this brings us to the most pressing question about the future of close air support. In an era of increasingly sophisticated threats, can anything truly replace what the A-10 brings to the battlefield? The answer might surprise even the Pentagon's most advanced weapons planners. The debate over the A-10's future continues into 2025, with valid arguments on both sides. Modern threats like advanced air defense systems make low and slow flight increasingly dangerous. Yet nothing has emerged that can match the Warthog's unique combination of firepower, survivability, and battlefield effectiveness in the close air support role. What's undeniable is the A-10's revolutionary impact on aircraft design and combat doctrine. Its 7 key innovations, the massive cannon, titanium armor, redundant systems, battlefield practicality, specialized role focus, psychological impact, and cost-effectiveness, represent a different philosophy of warfare, one that prioritizes actual combat performance over theoretical capabilities and pilot survival over aircraft replacement costs. If your life depended on air support, would you trust the battle-tested A-10 Warthog, or bet your survival on the futuristic F-35 Lightning? Let me know your choice and why in the comments. And if you found this video fascinating, you won't want to miss my related video on America's 5 most revolutionary aircraft by clicking the link on screen now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch all our upcoming military technology breakdowns. Until next time, this is Channel Name signing off.